Hey yo, it's your boy Monster Man Rocco.
It's your boy Swagger Rock.
This is Snack the Ripper.
You rap for those who don't know.
This is Master Ace. You are now rocking with the best. Breaking Wreckords Radio.
Breaking Records, man.
Breaking Wreckords Radio.
Breaking Records Radio.
Breaking Records.
Breaking Records.
Breaking Records Radio. Let's go.
Breaking Records Radio.
Breaking Records Radio. Breaking Records, man. Radio is like the place to be. I don't know, fuck strange music, dude.
All right, Breaking Records Radio and the place to be. You know what it is. Your host, Maloney, and I got a very, very special guest with me on the phone right now. The legendary Sadat X, brand Nubian, the wild cowboy. How you doing, my man?
Nope. I'm good, man. I'm good. Just been running around, but I'm all right.
Yeah?
No question.
Hey, man. And, yeah, so I know within the next month you're actually going out west with Elder Sensei to continue touring the XL album, right?
Definitely going out west.
Dope, man. And one thing I want to ask, like, because I know that you've been all over the world and stuff. You performed in damn near every country. And I was curious, like, where's your favorite spot to perform, like, as of current time? Like, where do you find gives the most energy for that, like, classic hip-hop that that you do so well?
Well, I would say probably Japan.
Yeah?
Because, they up on the culture. They respect the history of it. They do the history. They teach their kids the history. They'll come to the shows with their kids, and, they seem to give a lot of love.
Word, eh? Would you say they've kind of become, like, a more, like, in more recent years?
Well, they've always been on it, but, with the internet, hip-hop is everywhere now. So, places that wasn't really up on it really before is more up on it, like certain places in Europe. But certain places in Europe always been good, like England, Germany. Them places always been up on it.
Yeah, because I know Europe is really known for having a really good culture over there and like apparently like just the energy in the shows and stuff. Do you find that we kind of like lack that over here though now, like back home, like in North America, Canada, like the energy just isn't really the same anymore?
Well, it seems like over here, everybody wants a part of it. It's like it's almost like it's no fans no more. Everybody wants to be somebody. Everybody nowadays knows somebody that raps, makes beats, something connected with hip hop. So, it's become kind of almost like it's oversaturated.
Yeah. Yeah, that's the truth, man. And because when you guys are coming up, like, it was a lot different. And another thing is, too, everybody had to be original. You know what I mean? You could, like, everybody couldn't sound the same like a lot of these artists do nowadays.
Yeah, well, I think that's the blueprint because they see one person doing it one way, and all the youth, they feel like that's the way to go. When I was coming up, I respected a lot of MCs, Big Daddy Kane, Cool G Rap, dudes like that, Chuck D, Public Enemy. But I always wanted to be Sadat X, you know what I'm saying? I just wanted to have my place amongst them in my own style.
Yeah. Yeah, and then one thing I can definitely say about Sadat X is you probably have one of the most original unorthodox styles in hip-hop history. Like, that's one thing I just love about your shit so much. It's like, it's unpredictable, you know what I mean?
Definitely. I always try to, I don't, people always ask me the formula behind it, and there really is no formula. That's just the way it comes out.
Yeah. Yeah, man. And one thing I wanted to actually touch on, too, because, I mean, you're talking about growing up and some of the people that inspired you, but you actually grew up in the Bronx, right?
Yes.
So, like, what were some of your earliest hip-hop memories? Because, I mean, like, were you going to, sneaking in park jams and stuff when you're, just a tiny, tiny kid and shit like that? Or, like...
Oh, well, definitely, coming from the Bronx, I was in, the area where it was a lot of parks and stuff, and the DJ... he would come out with the equipment. It was like an event. Like, you'd see them setting up from the morning time and that anticipation of what was getting ready to happen. It was just the excitement of it because, it wasn't any, internet or even really videos at that point. So you had to really be there or hear it on the mixtapes. And when you heard it on the mixtapes and then you actually got a chance to see it, it was that much better.
And like it was just like on like your front doorstep basically, eh? Like being in the Bronx.
Oh yeah, definitely. It was like right there first and foremost. Even when I moved to New Rochelle, which is a suburb that's only like 10 minutes outside of the Bronx, it was there too, man. It was like, you know, it was new. You know, it wasn't really no old school yet, so everything that was coming out was current. It was right then and there. So it was a young people's thing. You know what I'm saying? It was all young.
Yeah. And did you ever get like a chance to see like a Herc jam or anything like that?
Yeah, well, I definitely seen Herc. Definitely seen them come out with the equipment. Who else? The Cold Crush Brothers, the Fantastic Romantic 5 MCs, Splash.
Oh,
I got
man.
to see all of them perform. And when they performed, it was like a show. Like they came and actually did a show. They performed, they harmonized, they danced, they was in step. So it was like you actually saw a performance.
Yeah. That's amazing, man. Like, that's one thing I always wish I could do is, like, because I'm only 28, but it's, like, just to be able to go back and see hip-hop in its purest essence, like, you know what I mean? Like, I just think it's amazing, you know, the people who were around at the time and actually got to see this thing as it became what it is.
Yeah, definitely. And to see where it is now is, like, incredible because, see, back then, there wasn't really any money in it. You did it for the pride. You did it to be the best. Like, when I started rhyming, at first, I just wanted to be the best on my block, then the best in the school, then, you know, in my area. So, like, I had no inkling that it would lead to me going to Europe and making videos and doing all this type of stuff now.
Yeah. Yeah, you're just doing it because it was something that you enjoyed doing.
Exactly.
Yeah. It's crazy how it transforms, though, man. You know, it's like, it's just... This thing we call hip-hop is just, it's an incredible thing, man. And it's just like,
definitely.
You know, I'm so fascinated with the history of it and the way that it came to be. Like, it's just, you know, so, like, just to be able to see something like that, like, you know, that's amazing, man.
Definitely.
Yeah, man, but, so, like, to move forward, too, I mean, I know you've talked about the brand Nubian stuff up and down a million times. If anybody, you know what I mean, anybody that's done minor research obviously has heard, you know what I mean? I don't want to beat the dead horses, but one thing
no problem.
One thing I am curious about, though, because that Slow Down Pete Rock remix, like, how did that come to be?
Well, you know, Pete was from Mount Vernon, which is a city that's right next to New Rochelle.
Yeah.
And he was an up and coming producer. Plus, him and CL were on the same label as us. And you know, like the label gave him an opportunity to do that remix, and it's crazy because, you know, I actually got to witness Pete in the basement. When he always talks about the basement,
yeah.
I was in the basement. I've seen what transpired in the basement. I've seen him making the beats for those albums and just watched and admired.
Oh, man. That's crazy. That's crazy.
Mm-hmm.
So that was set up through the label, though. So that was an official remix. Like, that wasn't something he just kind of, you know, he did up and then sent to you guys. Like, that was actually like lined up to do like that.
Yeah, definitely.
Okay, word. Yeah, I love you know, the remix is a classic, and that's one thing I was curious about. And I always hear Jamar talk about the story about like the day you and Pooba went. Would that been like the same day when you went to the basement and you and Pooba did that joint that Jamar was all like jealous that he never got on?
That just happened out of well, see, that was actually one of the first times I met Pete because, like, you got to understand, New Rochelle and Mount Vernon are two cities right next to each other that at that time really didn't get along. Like, dudes from New Rochelle didn't go into Mount Vernon that much. The dudes from Mount Vernon didn't come into New Rochelle, and when you did, you almost had to expect, if you seen somebody, it might be beef. So,
yeah.
You know, I didn't know Pete at the time, and I went with Pooba, and when I got there, Pete was like, yo, who's this? What you bring him for? And he was like, yo, that's my man. And I was, in my mind, I was like, yo, just let me rock. And from that day on, I was cool with Pete.
Word, okay. And then that's when that happened, and then the remix came out after that time.
Definitely.
Okay, word, dope, man. Dope. Yeah, Pete Rock, man, legendary, man. The tracks that he just produced on that new Nas Lost tapes, too. I mean, they're old tracks, but those beats are just knocking. Like, Pete still got it, you know, after all these years. Him and Preem, man.
Oh, yeah, definitely. They still to this day, him, Pete, Diamond, all of them do.
Yeah. And actually, now that I brought up Preem, too, you know, one of my favorite brand Nubian joints is The Return. I'm kind of curious, like, what was the process going into making that joint?
album, and at the time, Primo was definitely steaming at that time, and he was one of the go-to producers. When we did that, we was like, well, if we made a list of producers, we was like, well, we got to get something from Primo, so that fell into place.
Yeah, and that was the first time you guys rocked with him, though, right?
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, word. Yeah, Primo's my favorite, hands down, hip hop producer of all time. But I love that Return joint, like that shit. I love that joint.
Yeah.
Word, man. So to move a little bit forward too, I was curious, like, is there any chances of a new brand Nubian album happening?
Well, I've been telling dudes, like, yo, let's get to it. I don't know what the holdup is, man. Hopefully we can get it done, man. But that your guess is as good as mine, man. But
Word.
I definitely like to see it done, since we still continuously to this day do shows. Like, we just did a show last week. We got one coming up.
I always see you guys on the road. I always see you guys on the road because I follow you guys on Instagram and shit, right? And yeah, I always see you guys doing shit, and that's why I was actually curious. I was like, well, they're together a lot, so to be putting an album together, I mean, you guys got different schedules and shit, but it's like, you know what I mean? Like, as a fan looking in, it's like, it seems like it could be a possibility.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Yeah, that'd be dope, man, to see you guys come back and do something. Pull Jamar out of the podcast world and, like, get him back on some tracks.
Oh yeah, definitely. Like, you see, I still keep it moving, so hopefully dudes will take the cue, man, and we can get something done.
Yeah. Can we expect you to see you on the You're Not a Mean Godcast anytime soon?
Oh yeah, well, I'm in North Carolina now, so.
Okay.
I definitely would like to get up on that.
Yeah, man, that'd be funny. Like, you two when you're together, like the Drink Champs episode, that shit's hilarious.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
That shit's hilarious, bro.
Yeah, I told Nori, like, you got to set up with that, man. He get you up there, boy, load you up, and just, like, take it from there.
And you're still doing the True Wine Connoisseurs as well, too, right?
Definitely. Actually, we got another line of wine coming out. We're just waiting for it to actually get here. And, because it's coming from Europe, and it's on a boat. So, it takes about 2 weeks.
Oh, okay.
A week or something on the boat. But it's on the way.
Hey, nice. Okay, dope, man. And if people want to check out the wine, how can they find that online? It's truewine.
Well, if they want to check it out on Instagram, go to True Wine Show. And it's all the info there.
Okay, cool. Dope, man. Sorry, my throat's a little raspy right now. But speaking of the Drink Champs, there was one thing you said in there that I thought I caught. But being from Toronto, when you guys were talking about getting fucked up one time, did you say it was in Toronto, the MDMA story?
Which one?
The MDMA story where someone gave you that shit?
Yeah, definitely, boy. I was twisted up there, man. It was crazy, man. I was out of thought that day.
So, like, well, because on Drink Champs, you're trying to get the story out, but then, like, they kept, like, you know what I mean, saying some next shit and then, getting it sidetracked. But I heard you say Toronto.
That I had ever tried that, so it was even more crazy. So I was like, oh, my goodness.
And, like, were you up here for a show when that shit happened?
Yeah, we was at the show, and, man, like, somehow, man, I did that, and I went with this girl somewhere, and I left her, and I could not find the hotel. It took me like 3 hours. Word.
Well, that's one thing about Toronto, man. I guess we know how to party, if nothing else.
Oh, yeah, they definitely do. I tell people, man, if you get somewhere in Canada, make sure it's Toronto.
Word up, man. You heard it from the Dottie man himself, you know what I'm saying?
Definitely.
But, so one thing, too, that I caught, like, wind of recently was that, like, I read in an article that you actually recorded with Hove before.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
Word, like, so... Sorry?
I did a chorus with Hove. Actually, he called me to do the chorus, and somebody called me from Rockefeller. And I thought it was one of my people's playing, and I hung up.
Yeah.
And a couple of minutes later, Jay called and was like, yeah, I want you to do a hook for me. So I'm like, all right, cool, I'll do the hook. He said, we're going to do it tomorrow. We're going to go to the airport. So, I'm waiting for somebody from Rockefeller, I guess, to send me, like, what airport we going to, this or that. Where in the morning, I just got a call, like, a car's coming to get you in an hour.
Yeah.
A car came and got me. And we didn't go to the New York airport, so I started getting suspect. I was like, wait a minute, this might be a setup. And we went out to Jersey to Peterborough. We flew down on the private joint. We went to Pharrell's studio, went down there, knocked it out. Jay was doing all types of stuff in the studio, different songs, and came on back.
Oh shit! So what joint was that for then?
That was a joint. He was supposed to use it for him, but then I think he did something with Uncle Murder with that, and that's
okay.
That's how that went down.
Oh, okay, so the joint doesn't actually exist out there anymore. Because I was like, yo, how have I never heard a Jay-Z Sadat joint? I'm like, that's crazy. Like, I feel like I would have heard that if I knew that existed.
Definitely.
Oh, okay. That's cool, though, man. So what was it like working in the studio with him? Like,
oh, yeah, well, that's when I seen the work ethic of Jay and
yeah,
how he was putting shit together, and I was like, yeah, man, like, he's serious. Like, he's definitely a winner.
yeah, and because you spent time in the studio with Biggie, too. Would you say, like, they had kind of a similar process in the studio? Because some dudes say that, like, they were very similar when you got in the studio.
It was similar but different because, with Big, when I did it, Big didn't write nothing down. He just smoked and drank for a little while and said he was ready to go in the booth.
Word. That's crazy.
And that was that. Whereas Jay was going around systematically doing stuff. Big just went in and just did it off the dome.
Word. Yeah, man, that's crazy. Like you've been in the studio with some of the greatest rappers of all time. You know what I'm saying? It's like not many artists have.
I've had the opportunity to work with everybody from Hov to Common to Everlast. It's a testament. I'm glad that people have recognized me for that, and I've been able to keep going.
Yeah. And that's actually, I seen you post a picture the other day, too, where you're like, I got to put my plaques back up. And you had numerous plaques from that Everlast album.
Oh, yeah, definitely. He's a good dude, and I still, correspond with him to this day.
Words. Did you and Everlast have a relationship prior to you guys doing that joint, or did he just reach out as a fan kind of thing?
Well, I met him through a friend of mine named Dante Raw.
Okay.
And, I met him before we did that, and he said, when he made an album, he was going to come get me, and he did.
Hey. Yeah, that's a classic album, too, man. That album's huge. Like, it really crossed over. Like, that's when I was a kid, like, when that album was blowing up, like, and just the way it crossed over hip-hop to, like, kind of country, but not really country, like, just really, like a hip-hop vibe, but acoustic, like, to me, that was like unheard of before.
And it was like, I think that was like his first solo album. So he was like, I got to make this. I really got to show my skills on this, and he did.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's classic, man. Another classic that you're part of, like right around the same time too, like the 1999 joint. Like what?
Oh yeah, with Wreckords.
Yeah, like what was it like to just be a part of that Sound Bombing 2, which has gone down as such like a classic hip hop album in like the underground culture?
Yeah, well, that was pretty dope too, man, because that was back in the days when like you do a session and other people would come to your sessions, like other rappers, just to chill and hang out. And
Yeah.
I remember Talib was there. I think Pip stopped by. I think Mike G from the Jungle Brothers stopped by. So it was like a family atmosphere.
Holy shit, eh? And then was Common there when you guys actually did the joint too, or did you guys end up like recording it separately?
No, he was there also.
Word.
And he was just like, yo, Ed, do what you do. And I went in.
That's crazy, man. And it's such a classic joint and such a classic album. It's like, yeah, man, it's just incredible, bro. Like some of these pieces of hip hop history, you know what I mean? Like Eminem on a Beat Miners beat before him, he was the dude, you know what I mean? Just like some of the talent on that album, R.A. on there. R.A. is another dude you go back with as well, too, right?
Oh yeah, R.A. is my man from the 90s. He's always been a wild dude, and he's always been accepted. Like like certain dudes get accepted, wherever, in the hood or wherever. And he's always been one of them type dudes that was embraceable. He's a funny dude, and we've always been cool.
Yeah, we did an interview with him a couple of years ago. He was super, super cool, down to earth dude, man. I liked R.A. He was actually a lot more down to earth in interview than I thought he'd be because he's like so funny and crazy, you know what I mean? But yeah, man, shout out to R.A. That's
definitely.
Yeah, man. So another thing I did want to touch on as well too, is just the fact of your joint on the Beat Miners joint, the interview. It's like...
Okay, yeah, the interview came out. That was crazy because actually that was supposed to be a Beat Miners track.
Yeah.
But being that I was doing my album, I begged them for that. I was like, yo, I need that. You know, that was at the time I was living with Regina Hall, so I had her do like the questions.
Yeah.
And it came out dope, and we kept that.
Oh, that was Regina Hall, eh?
Yeah, that was her.
Oh, shit. No shit. That's cool, man. Yeah, that's dope.
Definitely.
That was one thing I had to touch on. I'm like, you're interviewing Sadat X. I'm like, you got to ask him about the interview.
What happened? I didn't hear you.
Oh, I was just saying, like, you interview Sadat X, it's like, you got to ask him about the joint, the interview. Like, this, like, you know what I mean? Right on his first solo album. So, like, another thing I was wondering, too, like, because last time we talked, it was like 4.5 years ago, I'd say. It was right when I first started doing interviews. But at that time, you had a bunch of stuff in the works, which you and Elder Sensei were working on this album. You talked about some other things you were working on. But I was curious about the album with you and Cormega. Did that ever come out? Because I've never been able to find that.
No, we never got to do that yet, man. And I still want to do that. I got an album that I'm doing with Keith, Cool Keith, and it's been taking us a minute. We did like 6 joints, and you know it's kind of hard to corral Keith in sometimes. So
yeah,
you know, I'm trying to get those tracks and get him to do maybe 1 or 2 more and put that out.
Oh, that would be fucking dope. That'd be a real dope album.
Definitely.
Cool. So you got that in the works. And what about for like the solo stuff? Because I know you always consistently drop material. Do you got a new album in the works coming out anytime soon?
Oh yeah, well I'm in the lab down here in Carolina, so I'm working. You know what I'm saying? I'm getting some stuff together now, man. I'm about 4 or 5 joints deep, so I'm working.
Okay, word, man, word. Well, before we wrap it up as well, too, is there anything else you want to let the people know that you got on the way that they should be looking out for?
Well, I just want to let people know that, you know, I'm still here. I'm still doing shows. Book me. I do full shows. I'm on stage by myself. You understand? I don't have a million people with me. You know, I don't rhyme over the words, and I give a show. You know, I pride myself on showmanship.
Yeah. How do you feel about the people who go up there and just fucking lip sync and half rap over their tracks?
I think that, you know, like, that's like, it's kind of like, you know what I'm saying? Because if I want to hear you rap over the words, I'll just listen to the record at home.
Yeah.
I want to hear you on stage and see what you're going to do. You know
Facts.
what I'm saying? I want to see, can you command the stage? I want to see, is what you're talking about on records, does that come transpire into the actual, you know, the actual performance?
Yeah. And actually, I'm curious, too, because I know that you have always, you know, you've always been one of the old, like, dudes from the old school that still, like, hold it down for the new school. Like, you don't ever throw shade at them. You know, you always show support to the young guys. Like, do you watch a lot of the shows? Like, I'm kind of curious, like, who would be one of your favorite performers from the new school, if you've had a chance to see a lot of them?
Well, definitely Kendrick Lamar, J. Cole, you know, I'm feeling A$AP Rocky and Ferg, and also I'm liking this young kid that's out down here called The Baby. You know, like
The Baby, dope.
I like the way he's flipping his words around. You got something with him.
Yeah, he's dope. But I mean more like as far as like actual performances though. Like you were talking about like how you got to go up there and get, you know, actually rock a show. Like who would be some of your favorite young dudes right now? Like as far as their performance, like stage show goes.
Like probably like I would say J. Cole and the other. What's the other guy? Is it Travis Scott? Oh,
yeah.
Is that? Yeah,
Travis
I like.
Scott?
Yeah, he's dope. I like how he puts his stuff together.
Word. All right, my man. Well, I appreciate your time very much. Let the people know how they can follow you on social media, all that stuff, before we wrap it up.
Well, I'm on Instagram, Sadat X. I'm on Facebook, Sadat X Derek Murphy, and on Twitter also. I'm around, and it's me that's answering.
Say a word, man. All right. Well, I appreciate your time, Sadat X.
Appreciate being on the show. No question.
Word up, man.
Hey, yo, check it out. This is your man, Sadat X, the Wild Cowboy. You listening to Breaking Records Radio, like how it should be, how it used to be. Breaking Records.